from the user interface, he can't access it and he'll say it's not working straight away. So that is what end-to-end testing here. And then there are plenty of tools in the market these days, whether it is free, open source or paid paid tools. Some of them I mentioned here, but I'm not using all of them though. I used few of them. One is Selenium, which is using by few programming languages like Java, Python, C#, and Ruby and Perl and few more as well. But here I'm using Protractor, which is using either JavaScript or TypeScript, and few more are there as well I listed here. One is QTP, which is untest complete, waiter, and so on. There are plenty of them, but I haven't used all of those ones. I used only the top two ones. Next one, I told you that I'm going to use end-to-end testing using Protractor. Protractor mainly based for Angular applications. Can I use normal Selenium for Angular applications? Yes, you can use Protractor for normal applications as well, but Protractor makes it little bit easy when compared to normal Selenium when using Angular applications. It's all because Angular is having automatic waiting time for the DOM responses, and you will get some more location strategies in finding Angular specific elements. So in Protractor there are more enhancements which is not shown in the direct front page of the Angular. So what is Protractor? So this one is wrapper around WebDriver.js of Node.js bindings. This one is built on WebDriver.js. So in addition, since it is built on WebDriver.js, it does have all the functionalities of WebDriver.js, and on top of it some additional features as well, like location strategies I told you in previous slides. Next one, Protractor is mainly relied on WebDriver.js. So it's because Protractor is developed like a wrapper around WebDriver.js. So this WebDriver.js is an official implementation of Selenium using JavaScript, and this one is using JSON wire protocol, which is the same as normal Selenium do. So that's why there is no difference for normal Selenium and Selenium WebDriver.js, and Protractor mainly depends on WebDriver.js. So I have some pretty picture here. So this is a WebDriver.js Protractor wrapped around WebDriver.js, and it calls the Selenium server. It does have pretty much all the browsers which we are using in Selenium, and on top of it we have some Phantom.js as well in Protractor. So it calls the Angular applications or non-Angular applications, everything, and we have some pretty good to do reporting as well. One is Jasmine and Mocha, and we use Cucumber for doing BDD test cases. So where to use Protractor? So as I told, we are going to use Protractor for end-to-end testing. So usually we use end-to-end testing in two ways. One is test-driven development, and another way is behavior-driven development. So in test-driven development, we write test cases, and then we write we translate the requirements into the test cases, and then we write programs to make sure those test cases are successful whenever there is a new requirement. When it comes to behavior-driven development, we write scenarios and all stuff, and to make sure everybody in the line, like business analyst or client, everybody understands what our requirements are and what is a locator. So in previous slides I was talking about there are different locators and additional locators in Angular. So what is a locator? So Selenium WebDriver mimics how the normal user uses the browser. So here what we are trying to do is there are some location strategies how we are going to find that particular element to do the human interaction with a browser. That is what a locator is. There are wide range of locators in Selenium WebDriver, like an ID, class name, XPath, CSS selector, link text, plenty are there. So additional locators in Angular. So there are some in Angular additional locators. So one is exact binding. So the bindings is the one which we use to display some data in Angular pages. So you need to, in normal Selenium, we will use, if we are using link text, you need to pass complete link text. Similarly, the exact binding needs complete what the binding data is. And another one is binding. So it works similar to partial link text, so which doesn't really need complete binding data what to display on the page. And next one is model. So the model is one of the directive in Angular which uses to display either any input component like text box or text area or drop down or something like that. So if you want to find something by using model, you need to use by model. And repeater, this is like a for loop in programming. So whenever we use any list of elements or list of data which we need to display on Angular pages, we're going to use repeater. This one works as partial one, same like binding. And we have one more which is exact repeater. This one needs complete text to repeat the thing, like cats in the house or dogs in the house, something like that. And then one is deep CSS. This one is like shadow DOM. So usually if in normal Selenium WebDriver we can't access, if something is hidden in the page or hidden in the DOM, we can't access that one. But in this Angular applications, the Angular itself put shadow DOM into the DOM. Even though it is not displaying into the page, still it holds the data of DOM in Angular. So by using deep CSS we can go through that DOM as well and we can access through that elements. And next one is by JS. So this is the expression we are going to use to find we no need to have any elements required in this one. We're going to write an expression here. We get from the result of the expression itself, we can find whether it's working as accordingly or not. So as I told you before, there is no waiting time in Protractor because it responds to the DOM. So what is the waiting time here? So here usually when we write a test case, we write normally what is the function we are doing. So sometimes they fail because the element is not available yet. So what we do normally to start with, we write some sort of sleep or to some sort of waiting to make the element to wait for the Selenium WebDriver. And then with that, the execution time of the test cases also increases, and then we need to find out what is the reason for not having that element there. But here the DOM gives responses to the Angular, but Protractor waits for Angular responses. That's why here we no need to wait for the element. But still, I'm not saying there is no waiting times available in this Angular or Protractor. Yes, we do have waiting times. We can use fluent waits for this one, like wait until particular thing to happen. So because it does automatically, so it goes to execute the next step once the previous step is finished. So why we are mocking API? So here I'm talking about mocking API because we are using this one in the framework or architecture of the project which we implemented in special projects. So why we are mocking is, so we want to reduce the time or responding time from the API. Because of this, so we don't want to create any rough data or raw data into the database, which is and we don't want to test with the real data. And recently the new law also passed here, and we are not supposed to use the real data. We are way ahead of time, and we are doing that as well here. So an increasing speed. So the execution time is more here, very less here. Since we are mocking the API, we no need to wait for the responses of real APIs, and we are not relying on the data as well. We are just relying on the response codes. Since we have the data, so what we are passing or entering in the text boxes or anything, it doesn't matter. So what is the response you are getting? According to that, the web browser responds to us. So what is D&D here? So we are using Dockers to put all this API stuff into this architecture. So we are using Docker in Docker concept here. So we have 4 Dockers, and we are putting that all 4 Dockers into another Docker. So one is the app server, and one is the API, which is the mock one, and then which is the Selenium hub to do automation. And then we need Node continuous deployment, which we use that one to integrate all those together. and then we put all of those one into the protractor Docker. So how, let me show you some, this is the real time. So in normal user interacts with the browser, and then the app loads into the browser, and then it responds from the app API. But how we implemented that protractor stuff into this one to mimic this is like this. So we have a protractor which will talk to the Selenium hub to replace the user here, manual user, and then it requests whatever the thing from the app. So we get responses from the mock API. So when we're getting responses from the mock API, so it browser reacts to that one. So we can take screenshots as well in this by using the protractor. But in Selenium WebDriver, in normal one, by using other programming languages, you can take screenshot only for the page in the web page, whatever is displaying. But in the protractor, you can take screenshots of different types. Either you want to take entire page, or you want to take particular frame, or you want to take a whole displayed content, something like that. So you have 4 options to take screenshots. So why we need the screenshots here? So before going and jumping into the data coding, we can see this by seeing the screenshot itself. We can have an idea why it is not working, and we can go through the code and we can debug that one. And next one, how to take the screenshots in protractor. There are some additional functionalities when compared to normal Selenium. So this is have directly the browser have its own functionality. So when we take the screenshots, so you can take whenever we want the screenshot, but in this project, how we are taking the screenshot is, we are taking whenever the test case result is a fail, then we are going to take the screenshots. Check. Thank you. Any questions?
So you said it's end-to-end testing, but then you mock APIs. Isn't that a contradiction? Like, how do you test if the API is misbehaving in real life?
Yeah, because what we do is we give the mock APIs to the real one. There we get the data whatever we need to give for the browser to do the normal functionality. So how a real API gives the response, we pass everything into the mock API and we do accordingly to get the browser function on it. Questions?
Would you use Protractor for something that wasn't?
Yes, you can use Protractor. For that, you need to have in the config file. You need to put one extra column where you need to say synchronization false. That's it. So that you can use for non-Angular applications as well. But there it won't wait for the DOM. But there you need to look after the waiting things. Is that everything? Thank you.